Welcome back to The Manual, a podcast where we talk about the stuff most men's podcasts are too afraid to touch. Today's episode is going to be wild, raw, and real. Buckle.
Welcome back to The Manual. Today's episode is gonna feel like walking through the woods. We're going back to the beginning. We're going to be talking about a topic that might sound controversial, maybe make you uncomfortable a little bit, hopefully, and may, in fact, sound unspiritual or unchristian. And the question on the table is, what if God isn't enough? And just to reveal a few of my cards, I want to propose to you right off the bat, spoiler alert, God is not enough. Okay. There's the cliffhanger. This phrase, it comes from an article read a couple years ago. I want to read it to you guys today, but I was reminded of it in one of my groups this week, where guys were wrestling with the conversation we had was around legitimate needs and honoring legitimate needs, expressing legitimate needs. It's something that's really simple. But also at the same time, it's really vulnerable to ask for what you want, to ask for what you need. And we had a conversation of why can that be so hard to ask for it out loud. And so one of the things the guys were talking about was how there was a lot of pushback. And one of them was, this guy said that the highest spiritual place of the spiritual life is laying down all of your desires. And until we get to a place to where we only need God. And that sounds holy, that sounds mature, maybe, but for a lot of men, I think it can be a place of self-protection, maybe even avoiding vulnerability, avoiding intimacy, and avoiding depending on anyone else. So there's a little bit of the setup. Joe, good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you. I'm super excited for this conversation. It's honestly not a idea or concept that I've deeply considered before, so I'm super excited. Obviously, the conversation of legitimate needs, learning to ask for what I need and desire has been a big part of my own journey of maturity, developing beneficial human relationships, mutually giving human relationships, and even being able to be self-gift in those relationships requires me to learn to spell it out plainly, because that provides the opportunity for other people to love me. And again, what is a need? This idea of like the modern idea of self-care. Like so often real human legitimate needs are small, specific actions or words that help us emotionally regulate, help us connect, help us to experience communion on a deep level. That doesn't require you going to a massage parlor and get you a pedicure and do all this crazy stuff, go on vacation, do a fancy far off place,
Have you ever got a pedicure?
Self-care. Right. There are times and seasons where we need to get away, where we need to slow down, where we need to disconnect, where we need to become quiet, which is part of a rhythm of life. But I think oftentimes this idea of self-care has been spun out of control, where so many guys in our process feel bad for even uttering the words self-care, or need, want, that feels overly vulnerable. Like you said earlier, it feels like too much. So I'm really excited to dive in. And I think there's no better place to start, Nick, for our conversation today, especially to lay the foundation and groundwork, than for you just to read the reflection by Sam Jallman on this topic to bring us into it.
Sweet. Let's dive in there. So here it is, people. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. We're going to dive into the article. Picture it with me. A man walks along a mountain path amidst towering aspens and pines. The tree cover here dances shadows around his feet. His pace is easy because he's really not trying to get anywhere. He closes his eyes and takes in a deep tug of mountain air. This is what he's here for, this smell, and these sights and sounds, and the company. Next to him is a kind of lumbering figure 3 times the man's size. Ominous maybe to us, but clearly not to this traveling companion. The two smile and laugh like old friends as they amble along. They are engrossed in conversation, stopping here or there to discuss the things they see. A herd of elk feeding high on a far meadow. This or that wildflower, the smell of pine pollen in the air. They are clearly close friends, intimates, we could say. This is Adam and God in the Garden of Eden. as told in the storied origins of life in Genesis, of course, infused with my Colorado imagination. God turns to Adam and says, "You're lonely." Adam stops. There's silence between them for a minute. Adam looks to God, looks away. God continues, "I get it. It's okay." "Well, it's not okay." "Is that what this is?" Adam says, tapping his chest. "Yes." God sighs, "And it's not good." Not good. These words had never been spoken here. They would have been scandalous had they not come from the Almighty. How could something not be good here? Here is Eden. Here is untouched paradise. Here is where everything was good. That's what creation knew. Adam could still recall the grin on God's face the day when they first met and the, "Oh, this is very good," that followed his smile. But now, Adam's eyes swell with tears. He knows God is right, but he can't bear the ache it brings. And for the first time, grief is known in Eden. Okay, wait a minute. You say tears in Eden? I don't think there were tears of pain, so to speak, but tears of longing. And there's a difference. Like suddenly the desire was so strong and so yearning, it just spilled over. However Adam handled this moment, we know the perfect world was not perfect yet, and it's God's move. It's not good for you to be alone. Here, let me do something about that. Okay, stop right there. Adam had God in paradise, like none of us have ever had God, with no sin and nothing to stand in the way of intimacy and vulnerability. No fear, no shame, no heartbreak, no angry eyes, no silent treatment. He never once felt distant from God. And of course not. They shared everything. These walks and talks in the wild world never ended. And though I'm sure they shared long times of silence as good friends can, there was never a goodbye between them. Talk about a quiet time on steroids. He had God completely. And Adam still was lonely and alone by God's admission, which means God wasn't enough. It's a common struggle, I think, for most of us. Most of us feel at some point in a relationship with God, that God isn't enough. Somehow we have this sense that God should be enough for us. That if we loved him enough or prayed enough or spent enough time with him, somehow he'll be enough for our heart's needs. This is God we're talking about after all. But I can't tell you how often I hear clients tell me they want God to hug them or hold them or talk to them. I have this same heartache. I've wept out of these same sentiments. And some of my greatest pain, what has popped out of my heart has been, "I just want you to hold me." God has never held me or hugged me or touched me. And though I've heard him talk to me, it's never been audible. Jesus spent his days doing this for people. And one day, yes, we'll get to hug him again in body. But for now, he seems most incarnate in the love of others, the hugs or smiles or tears of others for us. But this ache for another person can feel scandalous or weak or worse. Even though I think these desires are hardwired, we seem terrified of how deeply we need each other, a friend, a lover, good parents. I sat with a man this week who told me how stupid he feels for missing his wife as deeply as he does when he's gone. It just sounds weird or even wrong, like shouldn't God be enough? If I miss her this much, maybe I've made an idol out of her. I wanted to laugh. No, it's just how God made your heart. I probably laughed because I am like the king of needing people, and it's always relieving to find someone else who admits they need people too. Like Jesus, for example. Remember Jesus in Gethsemane? Taking along Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, he plunged into an agonizing sorrow. Then he said, "This sorrow is crushing my life out. Stay here and keep vigil with me." Even when seeking comfort and communion with God the Father, Jesus still wanted his friends really bad. No matter how much God we get, he's just not enough. We need people. We need human community. And somehow this is how he wired us. It is the humility of God to allow us to need something or someone other than him. I read that somewhere, and I believe it captures it best. God could have created us to need only him, but instead he created us to need so much else. We need food, air, and water. We need sleep and shelter and meaningful work, and maybe most of all, we need each other. We need love and touch and laughter. We need to belong and to be held. We need deep conversations and smiles from others when we walk in a room. Just to be clear, we need God too. We need God more than we need anything else, but we don't need only God. We need a whole lot of other things. Of course, it all comes from God. It all points to God, but it's not all God, and that's by design. Why in this world would God do this? I don't know. Maybe it makes for a better story. Maybe it's all one giant metaphor. I can definitely say this. You know that feeling you have when you find the thing your heart has been longing for? Cold water to slake your thirst on a hot day? The butterflies after falling in love with the woman of your dreams? How a great meal tastes after a hard day? A hug when you need it most. I think that feeling is gratitude. a deep bodily thank you. You're going to be looking for someone to thank. Maybe that's where God waits for you most, with a smile that says, you're welcome. All right, a lot of good stuff there. Joe, just to kick it to you, what initial responses, gut reaction, what do you feel? What are you feeling? What are you thinking as you hear those words?
Yeah, trying to remain just to listen. I read that article twice when you sent it to me. Just take it all in. You know, there was emotion connected to that for me. Tears, like, you know, not sadness or lack of experiencing that, but like a deep recognition of relatedness, like that this is true.
Yeah.
So it feels like it rings true. Now, feeling doesn't always, you know, it's not always true. But as you're reading it, it feels true. The line as you read it that stood out to me most and hit me the hardest in terms of that experiencing that relatedness was when he said, so much of his ache comes back to this line of, I just want you to hold me. I just want you to hold me. And I think of so many, my mind goes two places. One, to my own story.
Yeah.
And there's a story that's a core memory of mine that has to do with finding calm through the physical touch of another. That's really important to me, which we certainly could go to today if it's relevant and helpful. I think I've shared the story before on this podcast. I should certainly share it a lot in our work with guys. But then I think of so many guys who are in relationships, especially marriage relationships, and how often marriage relationships are a place of unsafety or a lack of safety for both the husband and wife in their relationships. You know, I'm not talking about general population. I'm talking about the guys that we actually work with. That the kind of self-defense and self-protection.
Yeah.
That oftentimes they look for that kind of connection and safety in others outside of that marriage covenant and context, where, you know, that utterance of I just want you to hold me, I think it is most satisfied and fulfilled in that marriage covenant. Certainly it's not the only place where it can be fulfilled. But is a relationship sort of designed or geared towards, you know, like especially in this image of the Garden of Eden, what God gave us to fill that deep longing, for another. He gave us woman,
Totally.
right? And so, just the ache there, the resonance again in my own story and experience in my own marriage of learning to ask for that, learning to find that, learning to get that when I need it most. And to give it, offer it to my wife as well, especially when I feel the most resistant to giving it. And yeah, my heart aches for the men that we walk with, who are in relationships that they experience the absence of it, instead of it being the gift of that relationship for maybe the first time in their life to provide them with that. And that ache isn't one where I'm saying, well, they just can't have it in that relationship. It's a desire for them to experience that in that covenant relationship, that kind of deep, intimate connection where they can utter the words, I just want you to hold me, and to have that need met.
Man, Joe, that's so freaking good. The physical touch piece, the even asking for a hug. I know you do this from time to time when you give talks to men, is you'll have them stand up, right? And you'll have them find someone near you and give them a hug. Something like that. That's what you do, right?
Yeah.
And basically 90+%, if not almost all of them, they do the bro tap, right? Because it's interesting. We all, if we're honest, and I appreciate how honest you're being right now, you're speaking from a deep place. We need platonic physical intimacy, a hug. And there's something about the bro tap, I think subconsciously, that's like, I don't want to get too vulnerable, and I'm gonna keep it on the surface, right? And then what's your experience after that? You have guys give another hug, right? And you say, don't tap. Is that what you say?
Yeah. Yeah, I got this. I mean, I was shown this practice by my mentor, Lowell, who, when I went on my first freedom retreat, made a point to hug every guy and then to instruct them while he was giving them that hug to not pat.
Yeah.
Because patting, we usually pat 3 times, and it means I'm uncomfortable or I want out.
I want out. That's so good.
That we're trying to escape that opportunity for connection, even though it's the thing that we need most.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's we bro tap guys. We shake hands with people we don't know we're not sure if they see us or know us or love us.
Yeah.
Right. So there is a kind of an affection required for the bro hug. We see it on sports teams. We see it modeled in various masculine environments, right? Sure. The military, where there is this display of I got you, right? And it's this kind of like, hey, I like you, or I'm with you. But it is absent of a deeper experience of that sense of I have communion with you, like I am with you in this moment. Like if you hug somebody for more than 3 seconds,
right,
you react to that, and we all react to it first and foremost because we're uncomfortable, and it's valuable. You described our need for physical touch. Physical touch in the world we live in has been hypersexualized to the nth degree, right? If I experience even the calm that a masculine hug could provide, if I stop tapping and I stay present, the world tells me I should consider whether or not I'm gay.
Yeah, and your whole system settles in.
Right.
And
well, actually, for most guys,
initially
inclination is to
to
do the opposite, is to freak out, is to become overwhelmed, to become heightened. Because my trained reaction is I'm not safe. That this is wrong.
Totally.
And because physical touch has only for many of us in our families, in our communities, in the environments we were raised in, was modeled or not modeled to the degree that, well, it must only exist in the context of behind a closed door, my parents' closed door, behind, back there. We see it in the movies where I just watched this series on Prime Video, Reacher. And he's this like hyper masculine dude, like badass, finds himself in danger, overcomes it. And in every season, there's 3 seasons, and every season he works with a different woman who falls in love with him, and eventually they have passionate sex at some point in this season, because there's this just deep connection of like, you get me or I want you. And in all 3 of those displays, the woman is like, it's so unreal. Like the woman is totally fine with separating from him and letting him go like, oh, I'm a nomad. I go like leaving at the end. And so this like action and adventure is parsed together with this deep connection and intimacy. But like, I don't want to settle down and have this for the rest. I'm just not that type of person. So this experience disconnection. So what I've tried to embody and model for guys is that need, and to show them the experiential difference between the bro tap and a no tap 5-second hug. And so I bring a guy up front and I tell everybody after they do what you described, okay, he and I are going to hug. We're going to hug for 10 seconds. We're not allowed to count, and we're not allowed to pat. And everybody reacts the same way. It's kind of like, oh shit, like 10 seconds. That feels like a long time. And I have to watch that. And it's also funny what our mirror neurons do. Like the way that we react, even watching something like that play out. Again, there's that initial discomfort. Like we feel uncomfortable for the people doing that because that's it's not inborn, but our learned response to it. And then there's this kind of settling in peace that comes with it if you stay long enough. And we need that. I'm deeply convicted that our Christian culture should be the model for that kind of relationship, for that kind of human connection, that 100%. Kind of it's good to be with you, and not just with you, see your face. Right. But to be held by you and to hold you. And in intimate Christian relationships, we try really hard to do that through talk and through conversation, small groups and how are you doing and sharing more honestly. And I think we've made progress, but we've made very little progress, I think, in the Christian context and culture for physical embrace that regulates, that co-regulates, that attunes, that connects, that develops and creates that kind of communion. The last part of the exercise is have everybody sit down after they do that, and I ask them, what do you experience? We take a couple deep breaths. What do you feel in your body? What's going on? And I was just at a retreat 2 weeks ago. The response unilaterally across the group was rest, peace, calm, present, unified, connected, seen, known, loved, from a 5-second hug. That's them getting that maybe for the first time in their life or the first time in a long time. What happened if that became a near daily experience?
Did you do that at the end of the retreat?
Did that on the second day of the retreat, halfway through.
Cool. So you'd kind of created a container, some safety, some trust, and these guys probably already had that too with each other in a way, in some capacity.
Yeah.
Two kind of just brief stories come to mind. One, this same group I referenced earlier. I remember there was one of the guys who was gone for 3 months, basically on sabbatical. Came back to the group. It was my only in-person group. He came back and drove straight. He was out in Washington, and he drove from Western Kansas to get here that day and arrived straight at group. And he walked in, and I won't say his name, but I said his name. I stood. He was the last guy there. I stood up. I gave the bro hand-to-hand combat, pulled him in, embraced him, and I threw my hands on his shoulder. I was like, "Welcome back." And every other dude stayed seated. I couldn't believe it. But also, I get it. I also understand both the cultural climate in the church, the kind of ecclesial milieu, all that's happening in the church, and just in the culture. The other story that's coming to mind is years ago. It was probably already 15 years ago. I was student teaching PE, and me and my buddy Tom were walking around the neighborhood praying a rosary, and there's a park right near my house, and we're walking around. And it's like a safe enough but dangerous enough neighborhood. And we're walking, and I see these kids, these 7th grade students that I'm student teaching, and I know them. And I walk up to them. We stop praying the rosary, walk up, connect with them, 5 minutes, walk away. We start walking, and then one of them, I think his name was Jaquan. I don't know how I remember that. And he goes, Mr. Red, you gay? And I was like, what do I say to that? No, Jaquan, I'm not gay. I'm praying a rosary with my buddy. He's like, okay. All the other kids were like, Jaquan, what are you doing? We walked away, but my buddy Tom brought that up later that evening. We were hanging out, and how did it land? It kind of it didn't shake him, but it hit him in a way. He's like, man, that's the world we're living in. We're living in this both hypersexualized world that has all of its consequences, that physical touch means sex, that closeness means it means you're going to go towards sex. And he shared this article with me by First Things called Requiem for Friendship, basically the death of real friendship. And the article starts out with this guy's in a movie theater watching Lord of the Rings. I forget which one, probably, I don't know which one, but Samwise and Frodo are in like this tower. They're getting close to Mordor, and Samwise is basically holding Frodo. I don't know if you remember this, but I think he might be totally naked or pretty much naked, and he's terrified and he's shivering, and he's just in that moment, this very like intimate and Samwise like I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you. I don't know if that's the same scene, but this deep like brotherhood, totally just holy and good and ordered. And like Samwise is like the icon of like the real brother who's there to support you. And out of the audience, someone says, "What are they? What are they, gay?" And everyone laughs, and it's like, okay, so these resurfacing techniques. And so rather, like we have this deep need for connection, for brotherhood, for physical touch, right? So what do? Instead of going there, we talk about the ball game. We talk about how crypto's tanking right now. We talk about the weather, rather than going there. So point number one, ultimately, y'all, is God looked at Adam's lack and said, this isn't good. This is what the guys were struggling with in my group. And basically this thought that if I were spiritually mature enough, I wouldn't need anybody else. I would only need God. But Eden tells us a different story, that God made man with legitimate needs that only other humans could meet. And so maybe just to transition a little bit around like that ache that we're afraid to admit, this acknowledgement of needs, this expression of desire. There's various reasons why I think guys think that or why it's difficult to express desire. Maybe you think it's selfish. The other night, on Tuesday night, I'm installing a water filtration system for the house. Between 5 and 6, I have time to do it because the girls are at catechesis of the Good Shepherd, and I come upstairs to grab a tool from the garage, and Teresa's in the kitchen cooking dinner. Dinner's not supposed to be till 6:30. Cooking dinner, and all the kids are there, and I'm like, wait, what the crap? It's like 5:20, and everyone's home, but there's supposed to be a Good Shepherd, and she goes, oh, Good Shepherd was canceled. Didn't know that, so I'm just making dinner right now, and I'm thinking dinner's going to be in 10 minutes, and I like fall into victim mindset real quick. And I'm thinking, and I'm planning on going to Home Depot. I need to come up and get a tool and actually go to Home Depot to get something. And I'm like, ugh. And she sees it. She sees it in me. And I've been talking, and I know I mentioned this to you, Joe, but talking through No More Mr. Nice Guy, this book, and how nice guys, like the nice guy syndrome, some of the covert contracts of the nice guys, basically, I never ask for what I need, but if I get all your needs met without you having asked for them, you're going to meet all my needs. So we never exercise the muscle of asking for what we want or what we need and not worrying about over distinguishing what's the difference. So she sees it. She just looks at me as I'm like defaulting to like, victim, I can't do what I want now or what I was planning on. She says, what do you need? Ask for what you need. I'm like, praise God. I said, I need to go to Home Depot. She's like, great, I'll delay dinner. And it's so simple, but just so powerful. I mean, this is a little different, yep. but the asking for what you need in small areas. I think men struggle to say want or I need for various reasons. Maybe there's certainly shame. Maybe it's this lie that, it's weakness. I think certainly some of it is this especially this thought of I just need God is, and I mentioned it earlier, is a form of self-protection and kind of helps fortify this self-made man approach to Christianity, where you don't need anybody. You don't need anybody. You just need God. And so you never express needs, desires once.
So figure that out on your own.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think this showstopper, I mean, the whole topic hinges on, which the article begins with, hinges on the fact that God sees the need and the ache.
Yeah.
In Scripture, he says, this isn't good. You are alone.
Yeah.
Right? If Adam, it would have been the first sin if Adam had been the one to say in Scripture that, yo, big guy, you ain't enough.
Yeah.
I need more than you, right?
Totally.
This whole thing that you created, it just isn't doing it, right? That God identifies again, and we're not taking Genesis literally, but the words that God speaks throughout all of Scripture are connected,
right?
They are consistent, they are resounding, and he said, "This isn't good," and that matters. Because he saw, and that the other line that stuck out to me, and if you have it pulled up, you can read it verbatim. But at the beginning of the last part of the article that you read, he says something like it was God's humility,
right,
that allowed him to create a creature for which he would not be enough.
Yeah, basically, you got it. Yeah,
and God didn't have to set it up that way. We didn't need to eat. He didn't need to create our digestive system to require food. He didn't create them to need water. He didn't create us to need even paradise. We could have been in an empty room, whitewashed room, empty space.
Completely self-sufficient.
Yeah, with just us and God. He was floating around. But he created this material, physical, world and physical man to inhabit, and knew that in creating that would mean that we would need the physical world, that we would need physical things, that we would need other physical beings in order to experience the kind of communion that we were created for. And the whole story of creation, each step of it is just that, creating this world out of love, for love, that was good. And this again, he says it in the article, but it bears repeating, this statement that he makes of seeing the ache, seeing the longing, and saying this isn't good is a defining moment in human history. And is also permission. Dude, that is absolutely essential to not only what we're talking about today, but how we look at this whole idea of needs and wants. And find God's rule, God's law, God's invitation in it all. How'd you set up the world to work, right? Rules are not meant to restrict, they're meant to offer freedom, right? That I want to play the game, God, as you designed it to play.
There's a way things work.
Yeah. And reality can be really freaking fun if we learn to play and operate within the garden of the world that we live in, the way that he designed it to work.
Totally. I love it. It's the humility of God that to allow us to need something other than him. Again, God could have made it just us and him. That's all we need. Instead, we're not just disembodied spirits, as we mentioned last time with prayer. Like, we pray as humans. We pray as like incarnate human beings, and body posture matters, and my awakeness matters. My, what I put in my system actually matters of whether I'm living the thriving life. There's a way, like Teresa and I, one of our values, we recently created a mission, took a day to do like some mission statement stuff and creating just identifying core principles, but ultimately we want to live as God intended. And that means a lot of different things, whether it's being outside more, touching, being in touch with physical creation, to how we eat, to how we relate, to how we handle devices, how we look at education. And we don't have all the right answers, but there's a way that God has ordered the universe, rigged the system in such a way that praise God for our limitations as humans. And when we surrender to that, when we enter into reality, we experience joy and order and peace, which comes from that order. This belief that I only need God, I think it often hides fear, right? Hides shame. It fortifies the false man and self-protection. And I know this personally, asking for help is a hell of a lot harder than grinding alone. And there's something there to lean into. When we say I only need God, sometimes we're trying to protect ourselves from disappointment, or from vulnerability, or just needing other humans and risking rejection. Even in the rejection, or the goal isn't to get a yes. If I express a desire, hey, can we hang out? No, I can't. I'm not available. The goal, okay, maybe you experienced a rejection. Okay, what are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with that? Like, certainly we all turn to God, but it exposes the stuff, the ache, the expression of desire. I don't have it in front of me, but this Augustine quote: "The whole life of a good Christian is an exercise in holy desire, of holy longing." And he goes, "We do not yet know what we are looking for, but the very act of asking opens you up and prepares you to receive." So we got to ask, we got to desire, we got to express our wants, our needs, because it's vulnerable and it opens us up, and it's super important.
Yeah, I love it. You're speaking towards aim and intention, right? What are you aiming for? And I think that's maybe the question for us to individually to more deeply consider is you're aiming to get to heaven. Awesome. Love it. Super great. So am I. But what's your aim, right? Where are you aiming? And you drew that contrast in your family's principles, like to live the way that God intended. I don't know that it was exactly your words, but to live in order with reality, right? Versus the sort of idea like the whole of my life is ordered to only needing God, right? And figuring that out. And that's a good place. I mean, it's an incredibly important place to start for each of us. Is for most of us men, we don't have an aim.
Yeah.
That's the first problem, is you haven't chosen one. So you're aimless, and life feels, I mean, this is why we created the Kingmakers community, is to help men develop an aim for their life, beginning with the end of their life in mind, working back to the present moment, and then aligning their steps in a 1 year, 3 year cadence with how am I developing in each domain of my life towards that aim? What am I doing this next quarter, this next month, this next week to move me closer to that objective and goal? And in the context of Christian brotherhood, trying to integrate the parts of me, right? I don't need a fitness coach over here, which has nothing to do with my spiritual life, and I just want to keep my athletic physique from when I played football or basketball. And over here, I have a spiritual director who directs me in my spiritual life, which has nothing to do with my physical life.
Right.
And these two people are very different in the way that they exist and live. My spiritual director is overweight and, 275 pounds, 5'10", and my fitness instructor has no faith, no spiritual life, but is ripped out of his brains.
Yeah.
Right. Like the goal and objective of the Christian community is integration.
100%.
Is body, mind, spirit. And is supposed to be helping us come into a deeper, again, I'll use the word again, integration, putting together, and to allow us to experience then the overflow of life that comes, like you said, is really hard. Like we talked about in the prayer episode recently, it's really hard, maybe even near impossible, to learn how to do deep meditative prayer, how to connect with God, if we've experienced, going back to when we were an infant, the lack of modeling, the lack of bestowing of emotional regulation, of attunement, of attachment, right? I mean, that marriage, going back to the Garden of Eden and Eve and Adam, in Scripture, later it says a man leaves his father and mother and cleaves to his wife. I was just talking to a client yesterday about this topic idea, that I love the word cleave because it's an attachment word, right? What does it mean to cleave to another? Right. It's not like a hang out with, be around most of the time, right? Jordan Peterson says marriage is the ultimate attachment relationship because it is a daily exercise in detach, reattach. I go off physically, mentally, emotionally, and do something else, and I come back to you to reconnect.
That's good.
To be one, right? And it's regular practice. I mean, and the story you told about your marriage relationship is evidence of you and Teresa's capacity to be able to disconnect and reconnect, to be disconnected, dealing with the various affairs of life, and then to be connected enough, even in the midst of that disconnection, to see one another and to make reconnection a reflex, that's. I mean, it certainly was an intentional choice to see you. It wasn't. I don't want to say it was reactive or reactionary, but to have it be almost second nature.
Totally.
On automation.
Yep.
That I'm so connected to this person that I can see them as they are, and I know what they need
more than I do.
Right. And that's again, it's like you can't figure that out on your own. You can't figure out how to attune, how to regulate. Sitting in a white box or off on a multi-years long silent retreat.
Right.
Good luck.
Right. Yeah, we were made for attachment. I love that. I love that word cleave. I've actually never heard it put like that in that context and connecting there. I'm reminded of that one of our favorite books, Addiction and Grace. And basic premise is to be alive is to be addicted, and to be addicted is to be in need of God's grace. And he breaks open that word attachment and how we are going to be attached to someone, to something. And if we do not express desire and express wants, which is meant to bring us close to others and to build attachment, we will find attachment in illegitimate ways. So what do we do about this? What do we do with the reality we would propose to you that you have needs other than God, and through them, yes, to connect you with God too. It's integration with us in creation, us and others, us and ourselves, us and God. Number one, stop shaming yourself. Stop shaming your needs. Know that your needs are designed by God. And it's good. And it's, as we said already, it's harder oftentimes to ask for something that you need rather than grinding out. So one, stop shaming. Two, I just want to encourage you, practice saying one thing you just want. Don't even worry, is this a need or is this want? One thing you want out loud every day, even if it's simple. And I want to encourage you, who is it in your life that's going to actually help you with this? And maybe you can help them. I want to grow in saying what I want and what I need. One, because I'm not even sure what I know and what I want and what I need. And so I need to grow in that. Practice one thing every day. Let it be known, and let that ache and let that longing and that the reality of your need there draw you, as we said, towards people, towards connection, towards community, and to risk it, right? Not away from it. And then another thing, build, 2 to 3 relationships. For a lot of guys, I think it's hard to receive. Who is it that you can receive from? Who is it that you can allow to meet your needs? Again, vulnerable, to put yourself in a quote needy, right? That word has kind of some connotations on it, but you know what I mean? Just that you have needs, legitimate needs. And as we've said before, addiction is an illegitimate way to fill a legitimate need. And this is the offensive side of addiction. When you fill legitimate needs in your life and your cup is full, you're on the offense, right? There's certainly the defensive strategies of putting up blocks and avoiding environments, right? But the legitimate needs that you have and that need to be met. And then the last thing I just want to say is spiritual maturity is not independence, right? It's spiritual maturity is interdependence, and we're made for connection. Last thing, I don't know if it was in the article or not, or if I've just heard Adam Young say this before, but your wounds, like your story, your wounds came from a relationship, not just abstractly, but they were in relationship. And your healing, your fullness, your integration, that abundant life is going to come through relationship with others. We got to get out. We got to get out of ourselves and get connected with others. We can make a couple announcements. Joe, any closing thoughts on any of that that's coming to mind, or should we kick it to the outro?
Yeah. This is all so good. The one thing that I wanted to comment on before we left is that scripture passage from Matthew 26. My soul is crushed with grief. Stay here with me. Jesus, in his humanness, needed others in weak moments too. And he asked for human presence in those moments. He asked for what he needed. And certainly there were moments where he went off into the garden and asked for the chalice to be taken from him in this deep, intimate. But it was also modeled and developed and revealed in the context of human relationship. His mother, without sin, by his side his entire life, right? To the moment of his death, his mother is there present with him, being what? A human mom, right? Being in it with him, experiencing that sword piercing her heart, her whole life, and allowing him to do what he was created to do.
Yep.
So I'm so encouraged by this conversation. I think it's certainly for many of us a need for deeper reflection. So just my encouragement is to take it where you need it. Take it to the relationships that you have and need. Bring it there. Be honest about it. Wrestle with it. You don't just have to take what we tell you and ascribe it to it. I certainly know most of y'all listen to it aren't doing that. Maybe you're doing the opposite of that. Like these guys are full of it, but wrestle with this idea. Is this really true?
Yeah.
Right. We live in this clickbait era where it's just like take the next hot topic and apply it to your life without thinking about it at all. Ask chat and then do whatever the hell chat GBT tells you to do. It's like, no, think about these things, meditate upon them, consider them deeply, and discern what needs to change in my life. And I struggle. It's impossible for me to do that on my own. That's why communities like a Freedom Group or the Kingmakers community exist, why we spend our time, energy, and effort here to be able to develop these things, why we participate in small groups in our own lives, to be able to have spaces and places that allow us to deeply consider these things. So if porn, if craving is still a part of your life, we invite you to check out being a part of a freedom group. You can go to our website, thefreedomgroup.co, to learn more about that, to schedule a discovery call, talk to somebody on our team. If this purpose, setting an intention and an aim for your life, and then having the community of brothers who are all doing that as well to help you get there, is a part of the process that you need support in, it's awesome to hear the stories, the movement, the progress that guys never believed they could make, and then they get around guys and start being intentional, and then they get there. You can have it. So you can check out the Kingmakers community on our website as well. Certainly you can reach out to us to discuss more about that. We also have if you're listening to this when it drops, we have a 72-hour fast coming up, December 2nd to the 5th. You can go to our website, go to the fast page, and click the link there. That'll take you where you need to be to join the fast with us.
Let someone know you need them. Text a friend. Ask for a hug. Hug your wife. Ask for help. You don't need to do this alone. Start the conversation. This is what God has for y'all. Enjoy the conversation. Subscribe, like. Thanks for following. Peace.